Hello everyone, this is Lilith Synergy, formerly known as the Mind of Lilith, and thank you for joining me today for a deeper look into the untimely and tragic death of actress Hayden Panettiere on August 16th, 2026. Before I begin my commentary, I want to make it clear that I don't know Hayden, I never met her, and I wasn't really familiar with her acting work, although I've known about her for about 20 years. At some point, she was everywhere in the media. We really didn't have a choice but to know who she was. I'm going to share an experience that I had last year in July 2025 when Jupiter first entered Cancer. This experience was not directly connected to Hayden, but it involves her tangentially because she was the victim of the same entities that abused JonBenet and the celebrity that I will be discussing today. So in the interest of protecting this person's privacy and not being punished by the algorithm, I am going to be as cryptic as possible. So please use your deductive reasoning to fill in the blanks. Now, I would not be sharing this information if I had not gotten permission from a higher power to do so, because I have absolutely no connection or relationship with this celebrity. I don't follow them on social media. I don't really watch the shows that they're on, and I have no psychological or emotional connection with this person. So the fact that I was able to see what I saw means that I was supposed to share this information with you all. I'm going to say something else. I am not condoning anything that I am talking about today. I'm just here to tell the story and describe what I saw, and if I had it my way, these entities and their devil worshippers would not even be on this planet, but I have no power over that at this point. So here we are. Hayden Panettiere, JonBenet, and this male celebrity who I'll be discussing today, they all resemble each other physically. They have the same phenotype. In fact, they could be mistaken for siblings, but they're all of a different generation, and to my knowledge, they have no biological ties. The male celebrity is younger than a baby boomer, but older than Generation X. And he was absolutely gorgeous as a young man. The abusers prefer to victimize precocious blonde children like the Home Alone actor and JonBenet. So again, my vision is not directly connected to Hayden, but she was the victim of the same Hollywood trafficking networks that have existed for many years, and that's why I believe she was taken out. I believe that the story of the celebrity that I'm about to share is somewhat connected to what she also went through, which is why I'm sharing it, okay? This is not clickbait. Okay, so let's delve into the dream that I had, and stay with me because I'm going to thread the needle a little bit and jump around from topic to topic, but it's all interconnected. So I'm viewing this situation from the perspective of the celebrity's wife/girlfriend, who is also his handler. We are in their living room and the male celebrity is wearing a bathrobe. He is naked underneath the bathrobe. He looks clammy, like he's sweaty or he just got out of the shower. I can't tell what's going on. His hair is shoulder length, right at the neck, the base of the neck. It's gray and stringy, but I'm not sure if it's because he just washed his hair or because he's sweaty. Anyway, this man looks despondent, and his girlfriend/handler is insulting him. She's saying to him, "Look at you, you're pathetic, you're fat, you're ugly, you're old and disgusting. You used to be so hot and now nobody wants you." As she's scolding him, he's looking down, hunched over, and I can hear a recorded children's song looping in his mind. The girlfriend handler cannot hear the song, but I can. So I couldn't make out the lyrics to what was being played, but there was no music, right? There's no instruments. And the children were singing as if they were celebrating and cheering, right? They sounded very happy. This was not a birthday or Christmas song, just something that children would sing at some sort of gathering with lots of other children. It was a festive occasion, apparently. So the song was being replayed in his mind over and over again as if it were recorded on a tape. This song gave me a clue to what happened to this celebrity. As a child, he was a victim of a covert psyop program that was developed to create a PDF network for the wealthy and powerful vampire class. As part of the behavioral conditioning, he and a group of other children around his age were invited to these parties with adults. These were grand, elaborate ceremonies with lots of presents and decorations, and it was very festive. There were always photographers and videographers present for 3 reasons. Number 1, to record the abuse for future blackmailing and control, like they did Michael Jackson. Number 2, to sell it on the black market for other abusers to enjoy. And number 3, the most important reason, to trick the children into thinking that their abuse was just an acting performance. So the children would be told to imitate adult acts like a Simon Says game. This helped the children to mentally compartmentalize and dissociate from their bodies while they acted like they were grown adults engaging in consensual acts. So the abusers wanted to brainwash these intelligent children into initiating intimate situations with adults like they were adults, and they were trying to mentally adultify the children so that they would not understand that they were being violated. So if the children believed that their abuse was consensual because they're only quote unquote acting, then the adults can deny culpability and act as if the children wanted to be abused. This is why the transgender sex change movement was so insidious, because it was a nascent attempt to adultify these children by having them focus on their genitalia at such a young age. So let's step outside the dream for a second before we go back and for the rest of the story. When I woke up, I said a prayer and I meditated on the dream. And in my mind's eye, I saw a little blonde girl, no older than 6 years old, wearing a bikini and holding hands with an old white man wearing swim trunks. He had gray hair and a pot belly, and they were both facing away from me, so I couldn't see their faces. I only saw their backs. Okay. They were holding hands like a couple, and they were on a beach in a foreign country like the Bahamas or Thailand. When strangers would see them together and they'd walk up to the little girl and say, "Oh, she's so beautiful," the older man would say that this is his granddaughter or his daughter. And he was lying. The girl was being abused and trafficked, and she was holding his hand like his girlfriend, because that's how they see these young children. They see them as like adults in little bodies. That's why they prefer precocious children who are very intelligent, who can have conversations with them, because they can pretend as if these young people are actually adults in little bodies. Okay. I don't know who this old man was, but I suspect that I was connecting to a larger network of men who were doing this to children. So the identity of the man was irrelevant. Now back to the dream. This celebrity is being insulted and just criticized by this woman who's the videographer. I think she's his girlfriend. I don't know. Girlfriend, wife, I don't know. As he's being disrespected, he is becoming aroused because he was programmed as a child to express his anger sexually for the benefit of his abusers. The abusers would coerce the children by asking them to role play as adults while they were being abused. My astrologers who are listening know that there is no difference between anger and sex. They're both governed by the planet Mars. The act of sex itself is inherently violent, and the only difference between consent and the R word is the perception of the people involved. The physical act is the same, but the consent determines if the act was a crime or a mutually agreed upon experience. The behavioral psychologists who were involved in these rituals brainwashed the children into thinking that they were consenting to their abuse because the children would see themselves playing a role on a videotape. So these people would play the tape of the children being abused back to the kids and tell them they're acting, they're playing a part. You're an excellent actress. This is wonderful, right? So if asked, the children would deny ever being violated because from their brainwashed perspective, they were just acting. And I'll delve into this further once I finish with the dream. So for the slow people in the back who want to find an issue with everything on the internet, I am not saying that these children were actually enjoying their abuse and it's their fault. I am saying that they were tricked and programmed and brainwashed into believing that they were not abused. Just like you were tricked into becoming a crackhead or a prostitute or an alcoholic or whatever. These children were tricked the same way. Okay? Back to the dream. So the girlfriend is insulting this man and he's getting angry and aroused. They go into this small, well-lit private room with no windows and only one door. There was a full-size bed in the middle of the room. The celebrity lays down on his back and his arms are tied to the bedposts. His left wrist is tied to the left bedpost and his right wrist is tied to the right bedpost. In the room, there are two muscular white men who are hired escorts and they're wearing $BD$M gear. Fill in the blanks, okay? They're standing beside each bedpost, one to the left, one to the right. The celebrity's on the bed, positions as if he's some sort of sacrifice. The girlfriend/videographer is at the foot of the bed, recording the whole ordeal. I am seeing the situation from her viewpoint, okay? I'm at the foot of the bed. There are no children in the room with these people, but the children's song is looping in this man's mind throughout the entire experience. So the two men proceed to abuse this man, and the girlfriend is zooming in on parts of his body that are being mutilated. Per his instructions, she's paying extra close attention to his face, capturing every agonizing moment that he's going through. There's like a mix of agony and ecstasy here, which is what he learned how to endure while he was being abused. He's feeling pain, but it's associated with something positive and pleasurable, right? Okay. So while I was watching the situation, I had a really anxious feeling that this man would one day go too far and accidentally record his own demise on film, which may happen sooner than later. It's giving like David Carradine type energy, okay? So this celebrity absolutely hates his face. He wants to disfigure himself. To this day, he is haunted and tormented by those earlier experiences. I'm not going to get into the details of what actually happened to him in that room. You guys can figure it out. So this man feels like his brain has been broken and he hates what has happened to him. He's learned how to manage his trauma through acting, but he's developed some neurotic tendencies that reveal the deeper psychological issues that he's trying to mask. And he's struggling. As he gets older, it's becoming more difficult for him to do this, okay? So the MK Ultra program was created by high-ranking occultists, intelligence agencies, and behavioral psychologists who knew how to program minds through various conditioning and torture methods. I'm not going to get into the nuances of positive and negative reinforcement, but these people figured out that you can manipulate people into hurting themselves or allowing others to hurt them or to hurt other people. Right? Like these serial killers. If that abuse is associated with something positive or enjoyable. So in the case of the celebrity that I just discussed, the parties and the festive events that he attended during these group abuse sessions, it tricked his brain into associating these negative experiences as something positive or enjoyable, or it's associated with something positive or enjoyable, right? The children at these parties would receive lots of gifts like toys and, these rich desserts and money. And, this is kind of like what happened with JonBenet. That's why she was found dead after a Christmas party. She was last seen at a Christmas party with a videographer. The rituals were going on at this party too. And her brother was involved, but he wasn't the facilitator of this. He was a scapegoat, but he was a part of that ritual, okay? Now, the negative association, the brainwashing through association is what happened to hip-hop music, which was a psyop to get millions of Black people to facilitate and celebrate their own destruction. The behavioral psychologists who were a part of the COINTELPRO program realized that they could destroy the Black American culture by juxtapositioning demonic, violent, and hateful lyrics with powerful, seductive rhythms and beautiful women and rich, powerful men. This is why we have derelicts like Carisha being worshipped and admired, and just cretins like NBA Youngboy and Blueface. They'll never run out of women to entertain them. They'll always find people or women that will see them as some sort of prize, even though they're selling poison and death to their communities, right? So Black women have been called worthless whores by rappers for the past 30 years. And we twerk and dance and stick our tongues out to these horrible songs, okay? Black men are told that they're nothing but enemies that need to be gunned down, and these men will dance and promote that music and engage in those activities because the rhythms are seductive. So Black Americans are largely under MK Ultra mind control via hip-hop culture, which is inherently homosexual, anti-woman, anti-family, and anti-Black. The heroin and crack epidemic of the 1970s and 80s and even 90s was a way to condition Black people to be receptive subconsciously to the type of filth that permeated the airwaves for the past several decades via hip-hop music. Snoop Dogg on one of his album covers had a depiction of a Black woman on her knees with a dog tail crawling into a dog house. And the Gen X population was stupid enough to eat that up because the music sounded good. The music was hypnotic. We were trained and brainwashed and groomed to enjoy our destruction because the music sounded good. Just like these children were trained and groomed into enjoying their abuse because they were being abused at these parties. For these children, there were positive emotions and sensations and feelings associated with these traumatic abusive events. So now the psyche is fractured. You have personality disorders. You're dissociating, right? You can't tell the difference between yourself and the entity that was created in order to facilitate this sexual abuse, okay? I believe that Africa Bambaataa was also a victim of MK Ultra because he used to hang out with the drug addicts in Parliament Funkadelic who were taking all types of MK Ultra psychedelic drugs. Bambaataa was also a PDF who kept photographs, right? Photographs of his male victims and was almost ran out of Brazil, I believe, for attacking young boys there. It never made sense to me why he was touted as the father of hip-hop when he was a Parliament Funkadelic ripoff with no discernible talent. But it made sense when Hassan Campbell exposed the Zulu Nation as a child sex abuse cult that preyed on neglected, impoverished young boys in the Bronx in the 70s and 80s and 90s. Hip-hop has never been homophobic. That is not true. That myth was a cover-up for the blatant anti-women sentiment. A couple of weeks ago, I defended Lupe Fiasco hard, and I said that he was probably one of the best rappers alive. He was one of the most prolific rappers to this day, and he was a rapper activist. He had assigned himself the task of liberating our people by purging our minds with music that was uplifting, that was informative, right? That was pure, and it was meant to elevate and inform and enlighten. Unfortunately, he was maligned for this, and he was considered a bitter hater because the industry punished him for trying to liberate his people. And we punished him too, not we like me, but the large majority of Black people who he was trying to help pretty much dismissed him, and they preferred to listen to Drake for the past 15 years. So as a collective, as the Black community that we are, and I'm sure there are other non-Blacks listening too, you're also a victim of this type of programming, but most of my audience are Black people. As a collective in a community, we have to unbrainwash ourselves from this mass MK Ultra programming that we've undergone for the past 50 years, okay? To close this out, Hayden's death is tragic because she never got the chance to become who she was meant to be necessarily. Her joy and her light and her life was stolen from her at a young age. She was in the spotlight for the past 15, 20, 30 years for most of her life. I don't know when she started acting, but I remember her being all over the red carpets 20, 25 years ago. And she was only 36 when she passed away, right? She never had the chance to fully enjoy all that life has to offer because from a young age, she was targeted to be the subject of abuse, which is prevalent all throughout the entertainment industry. The entertainment industry is just a way to legally traffic minors across state lines. And this is why R. Kelly should not be the only person in jail. A lot of people should be in jail with R. Kelly if they were serious about cracking down on child trafficking, but they're not. R. Kelly was attacked and targeted because he had something that they wanted, just like Michael Jackson had what they wanted. So if you are a very popular content creator on social media, please be careful about collaborating with these scraggly Hollywood celebrities, these B-listers, C-listers, whoever, who will eventually try to lure you into their casting couch shenanigans, gatekeeping shenanigans, which have destroyed so many young, talented people like Hayden and JonBenet and other actors who just fall off the wagon and just self-destruct, like Amanda Bynes, because she's being abused and no one really cares about it, or she can't really get justice because the people involved are part of the upper echelons. They're part of the demon vampire class that has given themselves over to the devil, and so they rule the world. They don't rule everybody, but they have control and money and power and resources. And so someone like Amanda Bynes or like Hayden Panettiere or this other celebrity I'm talking about, they feel powerless in the system because these people can come at you every which way and nothing will happen to them for the time being because they have protection. On a final note, I do have mediumship abilities and I don't talk about them too much, but I am very cognizant about and intentional about what I talk about, what I expose, what I reveal, because if you are a medium, you have access to information that you were not given permission to access by the person who you're connecting to. And I'm going to assume that when I'm, making these connections to people, it's because God wants me to. But I don't share everything that I know. I don't talk about everything that I know because it's not everybody's business. But I decided to talk about this because it does show a connection and a pattern of situations that have happened with these young Hollywood entertainment industry children who just mysteriously die. There's always a mysterious death after they are about to come out and tell their story. So I wanted to give some context. This again was not about Hayden directly, but her story, I'm really sure, is similar to the story of the celebrity that I just talked about. And hopefully I'm wrong about what I felt, that this person lives a long, prosperous, healthy life, but there is a risk that this individual could go too far because he's very angry. He's very angry. He's more angry than anything else. It's not even about being sad. He's furious, but he takes out that fury on himself. That's what he was programmed to do. He was programmed to protect his abusers and just be there for their pleasure. And that's the difficult part about this. So I'm gonna leave it there. Oh, one more thing before I forget. In the comment section, please do not ask me to reveal the name of the person that I'm talking about. Don't guess because this person is still alive. And there are internet sleuths who can put together the pieces and figure things out. I don't want that to happen. That was not the purpose of this conversation today. So please honor this person's privacy and don't ask about who it is and don't guess either. Just leave it alone. I just want y'all to understand how these young children were being programmed and abused, okay? I look forward to reading your feedback. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll speak to you soon.